Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gorangi Radhe Vrindaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chev Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. बोलो श्री राधे गोविंद भगवान की जय। बोलो श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा जय।
Hare Krishna everyone.
हरे कृष्णा अरुण हरे कृष्णा निशा
Hare Krishna.
All right, Tarun sir, nice to see you.
Same here. Sorry, been missing few. Just juggling act.
Yeah, a lot of different things, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But nice. We started Skanda 10.
Nice.
Yeah. See, 10th Skanda is all about Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Yeah. That's this Skanda is all about. And we started reading Adhyay first, in which Parikshit Maharaj is asking Sukdev Goswami ji to tell everything about the Leela of Lord Sri Krishna. And that's what we are reading. Yesterday we read that how, first of all, we saw how Mother Earth, yeah, Prithvi Mata, went to Lord Brahmaji and was requesting to get rid of all the sinful personalities on the earth. And then we saw how Brahmaji went and Devatas went to Kshir Sagar. They glorified Lord Vishnu. And then in meditation, Lord Brahmaji saw what's going to happen. And then he told all the Devatas to take birth in Vrindavan and Mathura areas, yeah, in Vrishni and Yaduvansh. And then we saw how then Vasudev got married to Devaki, and then Kans is driving the chariot. तभी भविष्यवाणी होती है आकाशवाणी कंस के लिए कि 8th son of Devaki and Vasudev is going to kill Kans. And once Kans hears that, then he is ready to kill Devaki, Mother Devaki. And that's when Vasudev is sensing that, and then Vasudev is telling Kans not to kill Devaki, and that's where he is giving this Updesh. Right? So Vasudev is telling Kans that, hey, this is the gross body. This body, everyone has to die. So like that, he is giving the consolation to Kans so that he doesn't kill Devaki. That's what we are reading right now. So yesterday we read that having experienced a situation by seeing or hearing about it, one contemplates and speculates about that situation. And thus one surrenders to it, not considering his present body. Similarly, by mental adjustments, one dreams at night of living under different circumstances, in different bodies, and forgets his actual position. Under this same process, one gives up his present body and accepts another, taha dehantar prapti. So this is what Vasudevji is giving message to Kans that, hey, like everyone, when one is in dream at night, he see all the different dreams and all that, he thinks he forgets his actual position, right? In a same way, same process, what is the death is what is explained. Under the same process, one gives up his present body and accepts another, right? So that's what Vasudeva is telling Kans to not kill Devaki, and he is giving this Updesh to him. And then we are reading this purport yesterday. We'll continue reading from there. So let's read this, Anilji.
To act in Krishna consciousness is the perfection of life and the highest perfection of yoga. As Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 6.47, Yoginam api sarvesham mad kate antar atmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yuktama matah. O all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The condition of the mind which flickers between sankalp and vikalp, accepting something and rejecting it, is very important in transferring the soul to another material body at the time of death. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So first Lord Krishna explains, Arjun, we read this yesterday, right? Who is Yoginam api sarvesham? Who is the topmost yogi? The one who is Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam. Yeah, one who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is the greatest yogi, and he is the one who unites with me. Yeah. And then, of course, it's mentioned that depending on what condition of the mind at the time of death is what the next body is taken by the by the soul. Yeah. So we'll continue reading this, Nisha.
Yama yama vapis samaran bhavam त्यजते ante kalevaram tama tam evati kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavatiha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will retain without fail. Bhagavad Gita 8.6. Therefore, one must train the mind in the system of Bhakti Yoga, as did Maharaj Amris, who kept himself always in Krishna consciousness. Save Manaha Krishna Padarvindaha. One must fix the mind at the lotus feet of Krishna 24 hours a day. If the mind is fixed upon Krishna's lotus feet, the activities of the other senses will be engaged in Krishna's service. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhaktir Uchate. To serve Rishikesh, the master of the senses, with purified senses is called Bhakti. Those who constantly engage in devotional service are situated in a transcendental state above the material modes of nature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so at the end, Kajyate ante kalevaram, at the end, whatever Shmaran Bhavam, whatever the Bhav is there, whatever the Shmaran is there, that's the transition which happens. Yeah, to the next level is what is mentioned. You're reading, Ajay.
As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 14.26, Mam chayo vyabhi charena bhakti yogen sevate so guna samatyaiten brahma bhuya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus come to the level of Brahma. One must learn the secret of success from the Vedic literature, especially when the cream of Vedic knowledge is presented by Bhagavad Gita as it is. Because the mind is ultimately controlled by Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the word apasmrit is significant. Forgetfulness of one's own identity is called apasmrit. The apasmrit can be controlled by the Supreme Lord, for the Lord says, Mata smiter janam apahanam cha. From me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Instead of allowing one to forget one's real position, Krishna can revive one's original identity at the time of one's death, even though the mind can be flickering. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Tarun?
Although the mind may work imperfectly at the time of death, Krishna gives a devotee shelter at his lotus feet. Therefore, when a devotee gives up his body, the mind does not take him to another material body. Tyaktva deham punarjanma nayati mam eti. Rather, Krishna takes the devotee to that place where he is engaged in his pastimes, mam eti. As we have already discussed in previous verses, one's consciousness, therefore, must always be absorbed in Krishna, and then one's life will be successful. Otherwise, the mind will carry the soul to another material body. The soul will be placed in the semen of a father and discharged into the womb of a mother. The semen and ovum create a particular type of body according to the form of the father and mother. And when the body is mature, the soul emerges in that body and begins a new life. This is the process of transmigration of the soul from one body to another. Tata dehantara prapti. Unfortunately, those who are less intelligent think that when the body disappears, everything is finished. The entire world is being misled by such fools and rascals. But as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.20, Na hanyate hanyamane sarire. The soul does not die when the body is destroyed. Rather, the soul takes on another body. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shiva Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yato yato dhavati deva chodatam mano vikaratmakamap pajjasu guneshu mayarachiteshu dehaya sopradhapamanah sa ten jayate. At the time of death, according to the thinking, feeling, and willing of the mind. Thinking, feeling, and willing of the mind, which is involved in fruitive activities, one receives a particular body. In other words, the body develops according to the activities of the mind. Changes of the body are due to the flickering of the mind, for otherwise the soul could remain in its original spiritual body. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Again, the nice purpose we'll read. Yeah. Anilji?
One can very easily understand that the mind is constantly flickering, changing in the quality of its thinking, feeling, and willing. This is explained by Arjun in Bhagavad Gita 6.34. Kankalam chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramati balvad dradham tasyaham nigraham manye pure iva suduskaram. The mind is chanchal, flickering, and it changes very strongly. Therefore, Arjun admitted that controlling the mind is not at all possible. This would be as difficult as controlling the wind. For example, if one were in a boat moving according to the wind on a river or the sea, and the wind were uncontrollable, the tilting boat would be very much disturbed and extremely difficult to control. It might even capsize. Therefore, in the Bhava Samudra, the ocean of mental speculation and transmigration to different types of bodies, one must first control the mind. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Isha.
By regulative practice, one can control the mind, and this is the purpose of the yoga system, Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena. But there is a chance of failure with the yoga system, especially at this age of Kali, because the yoga system uses artificial means. If the mind is engaged in bhakti yoga, however, by the grace of Krishna, one can very easily control it. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended Harera Nama, Harera Nama, Harera Nameva Kevalam. One should chant the holy name of the Lord constantly, for the holy name of the Lord is non-different from Hari, the Supreme Person. By chanting the Hare Krishna mantra constantly, one can fix the mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. Savai Manah Krishna Vadaravindya, and in this way achieve a perfection of yoga. Otherwise, the flickering mind will hover on the platform of mental speculation for sense enjoyment, and one will have a transmigrate from one type of body to another because the mind is trained only in relation to the material elements, or in other words, to sense gratification, which is false. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Ajay.
Maya Sukhaya Bharam Udhuto Vimudhan. Bhagavat 7.9.43. Rascals, Vimudhan, being controlled by mental speculation, make huge arrangements by which to enjoy life temporarily, but they must give up the body at the time of death, when everything is taken away by Krishna's external energy. Mrityu sarva haraschaham. At that time, whatever one has created in this life is lost, and one must automatically accept a new body by the force of material nature. In this life, one may have constructed a very tall skyscraper, but in the next life, because of one's mentality, one may have to accept a body like that of a cat, a dog, a tree, or perhaps a demigod. Thus, the body is offered by the laws of material nature. Karnam guna sango sya sad asad yoni janmasu. The spirit soul takes birth in higher and lower species of life only because of his association with three qualities of material nature. Urdhvam gashanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti rajasaha jaghanya gunavritistha adho gachanti tamasaha. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upwards to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the mode of ignorance go down to the hellish world. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavat 14.18. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So what is mentioned here is, depending on the karmas and what mode one is, they go to different planets. Right? So if somebody is in the sattva sthit, yeah, in the satogun, totally situated in satogun, can go to urdhvam, like a higher planets. We all know, right, how many planets above Earth?
7.
7.
Okay, and so what are the names?
Sato Tapo Maha फिर सतो तपो महा, then नीचे से ओम भू भुव bhuvar and
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
bhu bhuvar mahar,
Yeah.
and
Mahar is the word Swah. Yeah. So you have Bhu, Bhuva, Swah, and Janlok, Taplok,
jan
or that
and sat.
Mahalok, and then Satyalok, Brahmalok, right? Those 7. And then similarly, we have 6 under us, you know, Tal, Vital, Talatal, Sutal, Mahatal, Rasatal, and Patal. Yeah. The 7 and then 6 above. So anyway, so basically, but what is mentioned here is the people who are in Sattva state, Urdhavam Gachanti, like next life, they go to higher planets. Madhye Tishanti Rajasya, they are Rajogun. People who are in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets. And then, of course, Jaganya Gun Vrittista Adho Gachanti Tamasya. Tamasya, the Tamogun goes to Adho Gachanti, to the hellish world, to the lower planets, is what is mentioned here. Right? Tarun?
In conclusion, the Krishna consciousness movement offers the topmost welfare activity for human society. The saner section of human society must therefore take this movement very seriously for the benefit of all humanity. To save oneself from the repetition of birth and death, one must purify his consciousness. Sarvopadi vinir muktam tat paratvena nirmalam. One must be freed from all designations. I am American, I am Indian, I am this, I am that, and come to the platform of understanding that Krishna is the original master and we are his eternal servants. When the senses are purified and engaged in Krishna's service, one achieves the highest perfection. Rishikena Rishikesa Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. The Krishna consciousness movement is a movement of Bhakti Yoga, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. By following the principles of this movement, one becomes disassociated from material mental concoctions and is established on the original platform of the eternal relationship between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead as servant and master. This, in summary, is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And I think we have read this again and again, right? That when the senses are purified and engaged in Krishna service, all our senses engaged in Krishna service by way of doing the devotions, right? One achieves the highest perfection. Shiva Prabhu?
Yeah. जो ज्योतिर्य थे बोध कपार्थे वैश्वदः समीर वेगानुगतम विभाव्यते एवं स्वमायारचितेष्वसौ पुमान गुणेषु रगानुगतो विमुध्यति. When the luminaries in the sky, such as the moon, the sun, and the stars, are reflected in liquids like oil or water, they appear to be of different shapes, sometimes round, sometimes long, and so on, because of the movement of the wind. Similarly, when the living entity, the soul, is absorbed in materialistic thoughts, he accepts various manifestations as his own identity because of ignorance. In other words, one is bewildered by mental concoctions because of agitation from the material modes of nature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Again, a nice purport. So let's read. Anilji? Anilji?
the verse gives a very good example why wish to understand the different positions of the eternal spiritual soul in the material world and how the soul takes on different bodies. Dehantara prapati. The moon is stationary and is one, but when it is reflected in water or oil, it appears to take different shapes because of the movements of the wind. Similarly, the soul is the eternal servant of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when put into the material modes of nature, it takes different bodies, sometimes as a demigod, sometimes a man, a dog, a tree, and so on. By the influence of Maya, the illusory potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity thinks that he is this person, that person, American Indian, cat, dog, tree, or whatever. This is called Maya. When one is freed from this bewilderment and understands that the soul does not belong to any shape of this material world, one is situated on the spiritual platform. Brahma Bhut Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nisha?
This realization is sometimes explained as nirakar or formlessness. This formlessness, however, does not mean that the soul has no form. The soul has form, but the external agitating form is form he has acquired because of material contamination is false. Similarly, God is also described as Nirakar, which means that God has no material form but is Satchidananda Vigraha. The living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Satchidananda Vigraha, but his material forms are temporary or illusory. Both the living entity and the Supreme Lord has original spiritual form, Satchidananda Vigraha, but the Lord, the Supreme, does not change his form. The Lord appears as he is, whereas the living entity appears because material nature forces him to accept different forms. When the living entity receives these different forms, he identifies with them and not with his original spiritual form. As soon as the living entity returns to his original spiritual form and understanding, he immediately surrenders to the supreme form, the personality of Godhead. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Bahunama Janmanama Ante Janavana Mama Prapadyate. When the living entity, after many births in different forms, return to his original form of Krishna consciousness, he immediately surrenders unto the lotus feet of the supreme form, Krishna. This is liberation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And what is mentioned here is when the living entity, after many births in different forms, right, says Bahunam Janmanam Ante, many of Janma, many of births and deaths, after many, what happens? Jnanvan Mam Prapadyate. The Jnanvan, the people who are intelligent, finally surrenders unto me. Me is the Lord Sri Krishna, right? Returns to his original form of Krishna consciousness. He immediately surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Form Krishna, and that is the liberation. And then he also kept on in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, he says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanvan Mam Prapadate. And then he says, Se Mahatma Sudurlabha. Like very few are such Mahatmas. Yeah, Vasudev Sarvamiti Se Mahatma Se Durlabha. That's the whole shlok. Ajay?
As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18.54, Brahma Bhutah Prasannatma Na Sochati Na Kankshati Samah Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labhote Param. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahma and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Surrender unto the Supreme Form is the result of bhakti. This bhakti or understanding of one's own position is a complete liberation. As long as one is under an impersonal understanding of the absolute truth, he is not in pure knowledge, but must still struggle for pure knowledge. Klesu dhiktaras tesam avyakshtasakta chetasam. Although one may be spiritually advanced, if one is attached to the impersonal feature of the absolute truth, one must still work very hard, as indicated by the words klesho dhiktara, which means greater suffering. A devotee, however, easily attains his original position as a spiritual form and understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original form. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Tarun?
Krishna himself explains the forms of the living entities in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where he clearly says to Arjuna that he, Arjuna, and all other living entities who were previously in their original forms are separate individual entities. They were individuals in the past, they are now situated in individuality, and in the future they will all continue to maintain their individual forms. The only difference is that the conditioned living entity appears in various material forms, whereas Krishna appears in his original spiritual form. Unfortunately, those who are not advanced in spiritual knowledge think that Krishna is like one of them and that his form is like their material forms. Ava jananti mam mudha manusim tanum ashritam. Krishna is never puffed up by material knowledge and is therefore called Achyuta, whereas the living entities fall down and are agitated by material nature. This is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the living entities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shiva Prabhu?
This connection, it is to be noted that Vasudeva, who was situated in a transcendental position, advised Kamsa not to commit further sinful activities. Kamsa, a representative of the demons, was always ready to kill Krishna or God, whereas Vasudeva represents a transcendentally situated person to whom Krishna is born. Vasudeva is the son of Vasudeva. Vasudeva wanted his brother-in-law Kamsa to refrain from the sinful act of killing his sister, since the result of being agitated by material nature would be that Kamsa would have to accept a body in which to suffer again and again. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.4, Rishabdev also says, Na sadhu manye yato atmano yam asan api kleshada asha deha. As long as the living entity is entangled in the fruitive activities of the so-called happiness and distress, he will receive a particular type of body in which to endure the three kinds of suffering due to material nature. Tri tapa yantrana. An intelligent person, therefore, must free himself from the influence of the three modes of material nature and revive his original spiritual body by engaging in the service of the Supreme Person, Krishna. As long as one is materially attached, one must accept the process of birth, death, old age, and disease. One is therefore advised that an intelligent person, instead of being entangled in so-called good and bad fruitive activities, should engage his life in advancing in Krishna consciousness, so that instead of accepting another material body, Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti, he will return home back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, and we have seen this being mentioned again and again and again, right? What is the remedy of getting rid of the process of birth, death, old age, and disease, right? We have been going through this for so many births, right? And death. So what is the remedy? How do you get away from that? And fortunately, we all have got this human form. And in the human form, you have the opportunity to engage in the service of the Supreme Person, Krishna. Yeah. And we have repeated again and again, right? How do we engage in the service? How do we surrender? Is by doing the Navada Bhakti process. Yeah. And we say Bhakti, Sharanam, Kirtanam, Vishnushmanam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Sakhyam, Dashyam, Vandanam. Right. So those are the so many different ways. And we are good. We are doing the Shravanam and Kirtanam at least together. That's the process of being advancing in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Sachin?
Hare Krishna. Tasman kasya चिद्रोहम आचरेत स तथा विधः आत्मनः क्षेमम मन्विच्छन द्रोग्धुर्वे parato bhayam. Therefore, since envious, impious activities cause a body in which one suffers in the next life, why should one act impiously? Considering one's welfare, one should not envy anyone, for an envious person must always fear harm from his enemies, either in this life or in the next. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Again, who is saying this?
Vasudev.
Vasudev, right? Vasudev is speaking to
Kans.
Kans, right? So Vasudev is speaking to Kans that so that Kans does not kill Devaki. Devaki is his sister, and Vasudev is saying that all this impious activity will cause a body, yeah, in which one suffers in the next life. So why should one act impiously? Is what he is telling to Kans. Again, a nice purpose. So let's read this. Hare Krishna, Rasiksha Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Instead of being inimical towards other living entity, one should act piously by engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord, thus avoiding a fearful situation both in this life and in the next. In this regard, the following moral instruction by the great politician Chanakya Pandit is very meaningful. त्याज दुर्जना समग्रहम भाजा साधु समगमम कुरु पुण्यम अहोरात्रम समारा नित्यम अनित्यम. One should give up the company of devil, demons, and non-devotees, and should always associate with the devotees and saintly person. One should always act piously, thinking that this life is temporary and not be attached to temporary happiness and distress. The Krishna consciousness movement is teaching all the human society this principle of becoming Krishna consciousness and thus solving the problem of life forever. Tyakta deham punarjanma naiti mameti. So Arjuna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what is mentioned is Tyakta deham punarjanam neti. Yeah. He will not take the birth again once he surrenders to Lord Sri Krishna. Yeah. Is what Lord Krishna is telling to Arjuna in this. Hare Krishna, Isha. Isha, are you there?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. एषा तवानुजा बाला Kripana putri kopama hantum narhasi kalyanim imam tvam dina vatsalaha. As your younger sister, this poor girl Devaki is like your own daughter and deserves to be affectionately maintained. You are merciful and therefore you should not kill her. Indeed, she deserves your affection. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So what Vasudeva is telling Kans is Devaki is your sister, your younger sister who is like your daughter. Yeah. Bala Kripana Putri Kopama. So you should not kill her, right? In fact, she deserves your affection. Is how Vasudeva is trying to save Devaki from Kans. Anilji?
एवं साम भीमैर्वेद देवो द्यमानोऽपि दारुणः न निवर्तत कौरव्य पुरुषादाननुव्रतः. Sukadev Goswami continued, O best of the Kuru dynasty, Kans was fiercely cruel and was actually a follower of the Rakshasas. Therefore, he could be neither pacified nor terrified by the good instructions given by Vasudev. He did not care about the results of sinful activities, either in this life or in the next. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what is mentioned is even though we saw Vasudeva, how he has been explaining to Kans that this body is temporary, everyone has to die. Why do you want to do bad karmas? Right? He still, because of being a follower of the Rakshas pravritti, yeah, it says that he did not really care about that.
Prabhuji, my understanding was that Kamsa and Devaki were like अपने भाई बहन थे, सगे भाई बहन थे, but it
Yeah.
looks like they are not.
No, they are.
Because I don't know, I read in from the genealogy itself that Kansa was the son of Ugrasen ji and Devaki was the daughter of Devaka. And Devaka and Ugrasen ji, they were the sons of Ahuka. So they were cousins actually, not
Okay.
real brothers and sisters.
Okay.
So just wanted to share so that
And what you are
Rasi-
saying is Devaka and Ugrasen are not the same.
Yeah. Devaka and Ugrasen are brothers and sons of Ahuka, and Ahuka is son of Punar Vasu.
Right. The whole Yadu dynasty.
Yeah, we studied, right? So so something I said, I always
I
thought they
think
were
so.
like
In the previous sloks, we did come across like where Devaki's father was Devka. Like we did.
Yes. Yeah.
So it did come in the previous sloks. Yeah. But Kans is driving the chariot, which Devaki and Vasudeva are situated in. And so this shlok, what it mentions is he did not care about the results of all the sinful activities, even though Vasudeva was explaining him all that. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah. We'll read the next one. Anilji.
निर्बन्धं तस्य तं ज्ञात्वा विचिन्त्या न कदुन्दुभिः प्राप्तं कालं प्रतिव्योधुमिदं तत्रान्वपद्यत. When Vasudeva saw that Kansa was determined to kill his sister Devaki, he thought to himself very deeply. Considering the imminent danger of death, he thought of another plan to stop Kansa. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Vasudeva is thinking about how else he can convince Kans not to kill Devaki. Nisha.
मृत्युर्बुद्धिमता होयो यावद् बुद्धि बलोदयं यद्यसो न निवर्तेत न अपराधोस्ति देहिनः. As long as he has intelligence and bodily strength, an intelligent person must try to avoid death. This is the duty of every embodied person. But if death cannot be avoided in spite of one's endeavors, a person facing death commits no offense. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
Pradaya Mrittave Putran Moche Kripram Mimam Suta Ye Yadi Jairen Miturva Na Priyet Chet Viparyayo Vakinna Syad Gati Dhatu Durratita Upasthato Nirvatet Nivrittah Punarapatet. Vasudev considered, by delivering all my sons to Kans, who is death personified, I shall have the life of Devaki. Perhaps Kans will die before my sons take birth, or since he is already destined to die at the hands of my son, one of my sons may kill him. For the time being, let me promise to hand over my son to the Kans, so that Kans will give up this immediate threat, and if in due course of time Kans dies, I shall have nothing to fear. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Vasudeva considers the alternate that I can offer the sons rather than having him kill Devaki right away. Yeah. Tarun?
Agnir yatha daru viyoga yogayor ardhastyo nayan na nimittam asti. Evam hi jantor api durvibhavyah sarira samyoga vivoga hetu. When a fire, for some unseen reason, leaps over one piece of wood and sets fire to the next, the reason is destiny. Similarly, when a living being accepts one kind of body and leaves aside another, there is no other reason than unseen destiny. Hare Krishna.
Shiva Prabhu?
Evam vimrashyatam papam yavadatmani darshanam pujyamas ve shar bahumanpurah saram. After thus considering the matter as far as his knowledge would allow, Vasudev submitted his proposal to the sinful Kansa with great respect. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sachin?
प्रसन्नवदनां भोजो दृशंसं नीरपत्रपं मनसा दूयमानेन विहसन्नि दमब्रवीत्. Vasudeva's mind was full of anxiety because his wife was facing danger. But in order to please the cruel, shameless, and sinful Kamsa, he externally smiled and spoke to him as follows. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So the Vasudeva again is speaking to Kans. Shiksham Prabhuji? आप म्यूट पे प्रभु जी आप म्यूट पे शिक्षा
श्री वासुदेव उवाच न हस्यस्ते भयं सौम्य यद् वैसा शरीरवाक् पुत्रान् समर्पयिष्यस्या यत्तस्ते भव भयमुत्थितम्. Vasudev said, O best of the sober, you have nothing to fear from your sister Devaki because of what you have heard from the unseen woman. The cause of death will be her son. Therefore, I promise that when she gives birth to the sons from whom your fear has arisen, I shall deliver them all unto your hands. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so basically what Vasudeva is saying to Kans is, I shall putrana samarpayashe. Yeah, I will give all of them and you don't have to fear anything from Devaki. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Isha, can you read?
Shri Shukha Uvacha Swasurvadan Nivavrite Kamsastadvakya Saravit Vasudevopi Tam Prita Prashasya Pravishadgraham. Srila Shukadev Goswami continued, Kamsa agreed to the logical arguments of Vasudeva, and having full faith in Vasudev's words, he refrained from killing his sister. Vasudeva, being pleased with Kamsa, pacified him further and entered his own house. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so at the end, what Sukadeva Goswami is telling, and whom Sukadeva Goswami is talking to?
Parikshit Maharaj.
Parikshit Maharaj.
Parikshit Maharaj, right? The whole Srimad Bhagavatam being recited by Sukadeva Goswami ji to Parikshit Maharaj, and he's saying at the end, Kansa agreed to the arguments of Vasudeva, and then he refrained from killing Devaki. Yeah. I think we'll pause here in 40. So, and then we'll continue reading the next time. And as yesterday we heard such beautiful nursing kavach. So today we are going to do the nursing arti. Yeah. On Sunday we had a nursing Jayanti. Sorry, not nursing Chaturdashi. Yeah. And nursing kavach was extremely blissful. Similarly, we'll hear the arti today, nursing arti. Yeah. It is only for 5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes. So, yeah, that.
कर कमल भरे नखा मधुत श्रृंगार गलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनु भृंगांजय केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय विघ्न विनाशा जय नरसिंहदेव जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय भक्तवत्सला जय नरहरि जय भक्तवत्सला जय नरहरि जय प्रहलाद नरसिंहा जय प्रहलाद नरसिंहा जय प्रहलाद नरसिंहा जय प्रहलाद नरसिंहा जय विघ्न विनाशा जय नरसिंहदेव जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय भक्तवत्सला जय नरहरि जय भक्तवत्सला जय नरहरि जय प्रहलाद नरसिंहा जय प्रहलाद नरसिंहा जय प्रहलाद नरसिंहा जय प्रहलाद नरसिंहा
बोलो नरसिंह भगवान की
जय
जय भगवान की जय Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And we'll continue to read Skanda 10. Then we have the long weekend coming, right? The Memorial Day week.
Yeah.
And then I'm traveling to Seattle tomorrow. So actually, Isha joined us. We are going to Isha's place in Seattle.
Nice.
And then we'll go for a cruise from there. So next 2 weeks, we'll take a pause. Yeah.
The cruise to Alaska?
Yeah. From Seattle. Yeah.
Nice, very nice.
So the 2 weeks, and then we'll be back after that. So we'll not have it on 19, 20, and then 26 is Memorial Day. So we'll basically start again on June 2nd.
Okay.
Right? So till then, enjoy a long weekend and have a good time.
Thank you. You have a good trip. Keep sharing pictures from the cruise.
Have a safe trip.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Have a great trip.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna. See you again next
Yeah.
time.